Hi, I'm new to live, so I'm trying this out actually from my computer, slightly different. So I see I look a little fuzzy. I think I need to upgrade my camera, but I've been so grateful for the feedback that I've been receiving about the information I posted yesterday about this holographic blood analysis. So for those of you that don't know, it's actually a really interesting book, Holographic Blood. And it's a practitioner out of Arizona. His name is Harvey Bigelson, and his sons have recently relocated to Seattle to do this work up here. And so I was fortunate enough, some of the practitioners that I work with have been tracking this for a while, and they have been recommending that I connect with these people because, oils are the blood of the plant. And so the blood of the plant is synonymous with, we're very biofamiliar, humans and plants. That's why, humans consume plants, and then our feces can be used to fertilize plants. There's kind of a sharing of the nutrients, and they connect with each other. And so you can influence it. The idea behind holographic blood is this idea that the blood, we're all not just physical. We're physical, we're emotional, we're energetic, and the blood carries all of that and demonstrates all of those features. And so you can take just a tiny prick of blood. So what they do is they just prick your finger and take one little prick of blood, and then they look at it under this dark lamp microscope, where they're able to see not only the blood cells and the blood count, but also these holographic images. Because there's this idea in nature that the subpart, everything's the same. So like on our ear, there are all these acupuncture points, and they say if you look at the ear, you can kind of see a fetus upside down. So there are reflex points on our ear, there are reflex points on the bottom of our feet. You can access different areas in the body. The meridians in our body are kind of reflex points. So there's always a back door. It's not just, our gut is, where it's geographically located in the body. You can access the gut from the bottom of the feet. You can access the gut from acupuncture points on the ear. You can access the gut from different reflex points in the body. That's kind of the magic of Chinese medicine. And one of the things that practitioners that I work with have been playing with is this idea. I'm really not a fan of ingesting essential oils, mostly because I think that it doesn't get to where it's going. I think there are so many obstacles in the digestive system, the acid in the stomach, the liver processing, that it never really gets to where it needs to go. I think it's far more effective to use one of the digestive reflex points. For example, there's a point about 3 fingers up from the ankle, on the outside of the ankle, that I think is really fantastic. And a lot of the practitioners that I work with have been saying, we've been getting much better results putting like an digestive essential oil on a digestive point. Because if you're consuming it internally, you're using a lot more than you might if you're just topically applying it. So in that same vein, the idea is kind of that there are different, the stomach is represented in a lot of places in the body, right? So you can kind of take that point of view and use the idea that the blood carries all of this information. So you can prick your finger and get some of these images that I'm going to show you that represent what's really going on in the body. Like our biggest challenge as practitioners is kind of getting to the root cause. Like the original course I took, everything seemed to be the adrenals. The adrenals are overfiring. The adrenals are exhausted. For those of you that don't know, what happens is the adrenals, which sit on top of the kidneys, are responsible for releasing our stress hormones like epinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol. So we have any kind of stress reaction, the adrenals release these hormones, and we're supposed to return to normal. But one of two things happens. We're kind of stuck into high gear, so we're very caffeinated and we're very adrenalized or hyper all the time. And that can only sustain for so long, and then we crash because we've been overworking for too long. It's like after a marathon, I used to run marathons. After marathons, all I wanted to do was take a nap. The first year I didn't know I was going to feel that way. and my whole family came out and we're there at the finish line. And it was fabulous. And it was in New York, and we went to this Peter Luger's, this incredibly nice restaurant in Brooklyn. And literally at the table, I like fell asleep. So now I know after marathons, I don't go to dinner, I go to bed. But it's the same thing with the adrenals. If they're working all the time, they're running a marathon. And at a certain point, they're going to want to take a nap. So we used to think, oh, the problem is the adrenals. But now I've learned you have to figure out why are the adrenals working so hard, right? They're not the root cause, they're a symptom. And often the root cause is something else. It could be a virus in the adrenals. It could be that the part of the brain, the hypothalamus, which is signaling the adrenals, is overfiring. There's a lot of potential root causes. And so one of the things that the guys in this book talks about, which I think is so interesting, is that, another issue that a lot of my clients have are gallbladder issues or liver issues. So, I'm really good at supporting the gallbladder and the liver. And what they were saying is it's not the reason that the liver and the gallbladder are affected is because of structural imbalances. So, for example, all of us are born and they take the umbilical cord and tie it into a knot, and that becomes our belly button. So if that knot is too tight, then it kind of pulls on us and pulls on the diaphragm and pulls the diaphragm down so that it's pressing on the liver and the gallbladder. And that is the cause of the problem. So if you work, do body work and kind of release the tightness around the belly button or in the belly button, then it opens it up and suddenly it's not pressing on the liver and the gallbladder, and the liver and the gallbladder have a lot more room. Like if you've ever gone camping and, I have 2 kids, shared a tent, and it's really small, and you don't get the best night's sleep, right? Because you don't actually have space to sleep. If you're the poor liver and the gallbladder and you're kind of compressed, of course you're not going to be as efficient. So I just want to share, I'm going to show, this is my report, so I'm going to try to hold it up to the camera so you can see it. So this is actually a picture of the brain, a holographic image of the brain. And this one, this is the brain, I lied, and this is the cervix. And apparently my blood cells, it's really interesting. It's not just, you can see the blood cells, but they're also kind of little white activity around them. And people who are sensitive to EMFs, they're really, really spastic. And so what he was saying is that you can tell if your body's working too hard. So if the little white particles are moving too quickly in the background, that means that your system is really working very, very hard to function. So I had a surgery when I was a kid. I had a hernia operation, and that kind of showed up structurally as being an issue. I also have some emotional knots. Anyone who's been following my private Facebook page knows why. And then some lung issues, which are related to grief. So these are all the before photos. And typically what they do is they do an analysis, and they do some before photos, and then they do the treatment, which can be, they do neurotherapy, which is injections of procaine. Sometimes they add a homeopathic remedy. Sometimes they do body work, or they can give a supplement. It's all different things that you can help to address to return the body to balance, because the idea is that when the body is in balance, it will heal. So if you think about, I live in Seattle, which is like, I've come to joke that it's the city where the light turns green and no one moves. But that's in part because we're growing so rapidly, thanks to Amazon, that we're always under construction. So there might, in theory, be 4 lanes where traffic can go, but in reality, only one is open. So, of course, there's a backup. If they were to open when construction is complete and they open all the lanes, then in theory, cars will move, right? If your body is impeded, like your diaphragm is bumping up against the liver or the gallbladder, and you do some body work to release that, then all of a sudden everything can move. So my hypothesis was that when you apply essential oils, because they're a balancing force, it then allows the body to open up and move. And that's exactly what we found. It was really interesting. So my key issues were kind of pelvis issues from the hernia. And then I was actually delivered a month late. And so what he said is that, the womb only has so much room. So if you're late, that's going to cause some structural issues because you keep growing and you don't really have space. So I put on the parasympathetic oil, the lungs came up with grief, so I put on the lung oil, and then inflammation came up. I was rear-ended and kind of had some whiplash, so that was coming up. So I don't know why, but for that issue, I either use anti-inflammatory or the histamine balance, and for some reason I was feeling like the histamine balance was the right choice, so I put that on the back of my neck and kind of by my ears, parasympathetic on my ears and lungs, over the lungs. And the issues that I'm always told I have are thyroid, I have Hashimoto's, adrenals working too hard, and liver. And interestingly, none of those came up as the root cause. But after I applied the healing remedy, suddenly, I'm going to just show you, he said that that my blood looked much better, that it looked like it was stronger, and the little spazzy things in the background, the white things, kind of calmed down. Actually, I took a video of that. Let me see if I can kind of show that for you to see it. But it's really interesting, and I don't know if you have anyone in your life who's really affected by electromagnetic frequency. It's different for all of us. Some people it's no big deal, and some people it really seems to affect them. I was always kind of no big deal, but after my car accident, suddenly it affected me a lot more. So I'm showing you, this is my phone. I can't figure out which way to put it, so okay. So this is my blood of my thyroid after I applied oil, and it's just showing that toxins are being released and that it's healing. So I don't know if you saw the spazzy white things in the background, but one of the first things he said is, wow, that immediately helped you, because the cell membrane of the red blood cells seemed to get thicker immediately. The interference field, for lack of a better term, seemed to calm way down. And then he also noticed, his theory is that inflammation is actually kind of a it's the body trying to heal itself. And so you don't necessarily want to suppress inflammation, you just want to let it run its course. And so he was seeing that debris was releasing, which, you know, seems kind of like not a good thing, but apparently it is a good thing. So this is from the scar where it's actually letting go of the debris. And then he also had a picture of inflammation, which I'm assuming is from my little car accident, my fun little experience. So he was calling it trapped inflammation, and he was saying that that's releasing. And apparently those are really good things. What you really want to do when you're healing is to work through things and to let things release and kind of flow out. So that was my little documented proof of how essential oils can really help shift the body as demonstrated in the blood. Feel free to ask any questions below, and I'm excited to keep talking about this. Thanks, you guys. Hi, I'm Jodi Cohen, founder of Vibrant Blue Oils. Thank you so much for watching this YouTube video. Please don't forget to subscribe by clicking the circle at the bottom of this screen. And if you want to access more free essential oil trainings, just visit vibrantblueoils.com/YouTube. You can find this link in the video description. Thank you again.